All right, guys, welcome to episode 7 of the All In podcast. We have an extremely special guest here today, Todd Durkin. He is, I don't even know where to start, but he's internationally renowned strength and conditioning coach, motivational speaker, mindset coach for some of the world's best athletes. And so that was my best shot at it. Todd, can you give some more background?
Man, Conrad, thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, hey, for the last couple decades, I've been training some of the best men and women in the world when it comes to sports, NFL, Major League Baseball, UFC fighting. You name the sport, I've been doing that. I've invested, 25 years of my career in that. I got my break in training the sports side of things way back 2002. I started training a guy named LaDainian Tomlinson, LT. He was a first round draft pick with the San Diego Chargers. I started training him. Next thing I know, he brings in Drew Brees. I've been training Drew now for 21 years. Well, those guys, as you know, Conrad, in the athlete world, it's all word of mouth. And then, he brings in Sproles and Chase Daniel and Aaron Rodgers. And, over the last several years, I've been training some of the best athletes in the world. Now, at the same time, I'm training a lot of, high school athletes, youth athletes, college athletes, as well as the everyday mom and dad looking to get in great shape. Because for me as a coach, it's like, hey, if you have the desire to get better, then we have the solution, the program that can help you. That's what I do. I started the gym way back in year 2000, and for the last 23 years, just try to change lives here in San Diego. But it's scaled since then, Conrad. Now I do a lot of speaking around the country, both at coaching clinics and with businesses on creating legacy and that. But I love coaching kids to the next level.
That's incredible, man. So, I mean, to be able to work with that caliber athletes and then to also get to kind of help kids who are on the come up too is a lot of fun. So, I want to dive in deep to some mindset stuff, but first, rewind before 2000, before you opened the gym and started to put together this list of
Yeah.
people and build your company. What's your did you play sports? What was your background coming up? How did it go? What was your experience as an athlete and then transitioning into coaching? When did you know you wanted to be a coach?
Sure. No, I live in San Diego, California now. I got three kids, right? So they're all athletes. But growing up myself, I'm from the East Coast. I grew up in New Jersey. Grew up a powerhouse football program, Brick, New Jersey. Played for a iconic coach, Warren Wolf. Coach Wolf was a mentor of mine. He was at the time when he passed away recently, the fifth winningest coach all time, wins in the country. So I came up through that program, started football as a quarterback. And I started for 4 years. In high school, I played football, basketball, baseball, 11 varsity letters, loved sports. And for me, man, sports was the way out because I was the youngest of eight kids and the youngest of eight kids. Parents got divorced when I was 5 years old, and I was the lunch ticket kid, no money. So I realized that for me, football was going to be the way to potentially, get an education and fulfill my dreams of eventually playing in the NFL. Got a college scholarship. It was deciding between Army, Navy, James Madison, Rutgers, William and Mary, and I ultimately chose William and Mary, and ended up at William and Mary. And matter of fact, two of my teammates, Mike Tomlin with the Steelers, a year younger than me, and Sean McDermott with the Buffalo Bills. He was 2 years younger than me at William and Mary. When I was done at William and Mary in Virginia, I felt like football wasn't done. I already had my degree in kinesiology, so I went overseas, Conrad, and I played over in the World Football League at the time. The World Football League had different cities throughout Europe. I was a quarterback, and between the World League and also professional football in Europe, I played for three different cities: Berlin, Germany; Amsterdam, France, or Amsterdam and Cannes, France. It was there in Cannes, France. I was 25 years old, blew up my back as a quarterback. For all the quarterbacks listening in, you're taught when you pick up a first down running, you go down and you slide, you hook slide. Well, I did a hook slide. I had two linebackers come in, put their helmet in my back, and I laid motionless on a football field in Aix-en-Provence, France. I can remember it like it was yesterday. And I knew something was seriously wrong. As the trainers came on the field, I had to get stretchered off. doctor in France said, "Z, you have a back problem, three herniated discs, spinal stenosis, degenerative back disease. Your career is over." And for all you young men and women listening in, there's a point you don't know when your career is coming to a close, whether it be high school, college, pro, whatever. And for me, that was one of the darkest times of my life because from 5 to 25, I wanted to be an NFL quarterback, and I did everything I could to try to do that. And I loved the game of football. I went down the circuitous path to try to heal my own back pain, and over a 5 year period, that's what I did. I was eventually able to fly home to New Jersey. I met an entertainer in Malibu, and he trained all of the Hollywood celebrities, or he worked with the Hollywood celebrities, including his company produced Oprah Winfrey. So next thing I know, I went from quote professional quarterback in Europe to trainer to the Hollywood stars. Right? I'm training all these people in Malibu, and here's the thing. Here's a little lesson I learned that you can do. I was making really good money as a trainer up there, but deep down inside, I knew that's not where I was going to end up because I missed working with athletes. I didn't like the environment, so I ended up moving down to San Diego, getting my graduate degree in exercise science and biomechanics, and I opened my gym in year 2000. And that was the start of I had no clients, I had no money, I had no business plan. And I'm like, let me just combine my passion for athletics and sports, but take my own experience from a degree in kinesiology, as well as the experience of healing from what happened with my football injury. And interesting enough, Conrad, sometimes hindsight's 2020, and looking back, that was one of the biggest blessings of my life because for the last 23 years, my back injury was always the impetus, at least initially, to start working with athletes. Oh, Vaughn Parker coming in, I got a bad back. LT wanted to stay out of pain. Drew wanted to maximize his performance. So a lot of times, what seemed like a very dark period in my life in my 20s, trying to discover what I should do next, it actually ended up becoming what I do now for a living. And that's, help people get to the highest level they can possibly get to. That's the backstory in a nutshell.
And Todd, that's an incredible story, man. You know what? We actually have something in common that I don't have in common with a lot of people is that I went over and played baseball in Europe and played. It was actually for Team GB, so I would do the international tour. So I wasn't living over there. It'd be like a month at a time. But it's a playing an American sport. In Europe is just it's a funny thing. And Germany, playing football in Germany would have been a lot of fun. I mean, they're crazy about it. I'm sure they're probably going to get a team here soon.
Unbelievable. It's one of those, like, if you want to see the world, you can do it one of two ways: join the military, or maybe take your sport and go over there and spend some time. And for me, at that point in my life, I was like, hey, if I can continue to play the game I love and maybe get a glimpse into holding on to the dream and still travel Europe. As we all know, if you're young listening, go experience other cultures. For me, looking back, like yourself, Conrad, I loved my experience in Germany. Great football, great people. Amsterdam, interesting enough, the year I left and got hurt, also was the year that the guy that came in the year after me, a guy by the name of Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner came in and played for the Amsterdam Admirals, the team I played for. And everyone knows Kurt Warner. They don't know me. so it was a great experience.
And Amsterdam, did he go directly from the Amsterdam Admirals to the Rams?
I believe that is correct. Yes, he had a great year in Amsterdam, and then that following year got picked up over there with the Rams. Yep. So it was great.
What's your favorite part about that experience playing internationally?
Well, let me tell you, it was an experience at first, because I'm not sure about you, Conrad, but my first game, when I was in the locker room at halftime and there were guys smoking cigarettes, I'm like, what's going on in here? Like, wait a second, this ain't the game I know. Because you have nationals, you have people who are over there from Germany or France playing, and then you have Americans, and there were 5 Americans allowed on a team. So I'm like, wait a second, these guys are they're smoking cigarettes at halftime. This isn't going to help us. So that's not my favorite part. It was an eye-opening experience to say, okay, all right, this is different. So that was a funny thing. But what I would say as far as the most memorable, I love the lifestyle. I love the lifestyle of going to the market every day, getting your food and talking to the people. They would shut down the city for 2 hours from noon to two for siesta, and people would go and take naps, and like becomes part of the lifestyle that here in the rat race of America, obviously we don't have that. And then they loved sports. As an American going over there and playing, if you were good to the people and you gave back, they loved the American players. And I really enjoyed that aspect. I would have stayed over there for more years if I hadn't gotten hurt. But I just love the lifestyle and traveling, getting on a train and going to different countries and that. So when you're in high school or even college, sometimes you don't think about the opportunities outside of MLB or NFL or whatever sports you play. But there's opportunities overseas sometimes to go almost be an ambassador for your sport and our country, to go over there and immerse yourself, and you realize the education that you get from another culture far supersedes what you often learn in school too.
Yeah, it's pretty unreal. You get over there, and it's like a pretty big culture shock in regards to just like how they even go about the sport. Like you mentioned, cigarettes was the first thing you thought about. I was thinking about that before you even said it because I show up to one of our first games. We're playing in Amsterdam in the 2019 European Championships. We're playing Russia, and you know their players are smoking cigarettes in the dugout. They've got a crafty lefty on the mound throwing like 93, four different pitches, and they beat us because we can't score a run off this guy. But they don't have another player on the team. It's
Right.
like,
Oh my gosh.
oh,
I know. It's wild, but it's interesting when you work your tail off. You put a lot of hard work into whatever you do, whether you're a pitcher, you're a quarterback. For me, it's you take your game as far as you can if you have the desire to continue playing. But regardless, even like yourself, Conrad, early on in my life, I learned the value of hard work, that, earning a college scholarship is going to take work. And if you have talent, you better work your tail off. If you don't have talent, you better work your tail off, right? It's like the whole thing is, hard work beats talent when talent don't work. I'm always like, well, what if you have talent and you work hard? You don't have a lot of, even the men and women who I've trained over the last 2 decades, the best in the world, it's about work ethic and how to stay successful when you already are successful. So if you've had some success, whether it be in high school or you're a starter, or you want to go to college and earn a scholarship, or your PW, you're a PWO, it's okay, what can I do? What can I sacrifice? What habits can I employ? And that could be, I ain't going to be drinking. I ain't going out and partying like everyone else. You still have a social life, absolutely. But what are you willing to do, sacrifice, in order for you to maximize this opportunity, this window that's so darn small in your life? I was just literally training. I don't know if you remember the name Chase Daniel. He played for 14 years in the NFL. Just before us getting on this podcast, was training Chase, and we were talking about that. He was a career backup. Matter of fact, Conrad, he's a one percenter, I call him. He's made over $60 million in his career as a backup. Why? Because he was never content with being a backup. I trained him for 14 years. He always trained to be the starter, even when he wasn't the starter. It's, man, you got to keep that edge. Whether you're the man or you're not the man, what are you going to do habits-wise, work-wise, to prepare so when the opportunity comes at the high school level or at the college level or at the pro level, that you're ready to get to that next level. And while some may say I'm a mindset coach, and I am, it's really the combination of strength and conditioning, mindset, habits, rules, setting your life up and in your environment up, regardless of the background. It's not like, oh, I don't have this, or my parents are divorced, or this. No, no, no. That's your edge. Your scars become your strength. Your scars become, right? Like, that is your edge. That's your edge. So I hate when kids are like, man, if you only knew how bad I have it. Listen, use that as your edge. That's a man. If you were born with a silver spoon in your mouth, most people weren't. Then that often breeds contentment and not the drive and passion that's necessary for you to become the best. So use that little edge that you got to train like no one else and to do what you want to do and go out there and proliferate your talents.
Todd, man, I identify so hard with what you just said. But you said one thing, and like habits, I think are such a big part of any athlete that does exceptionally well and continues to make it to the next level. And obviously, I think most of the athletes that are listening to this want to work hard and feel like they're as committed as possible to their sport. But you've coached athletes at every level to Hall of Famers. What are some of the habits that you see across the board with the best of the best?
There's habits and there's traits, right? There's habits and there's traits, and I do believe that some traits can be learned. For example, a guy like Drew Brees, who trained for 21 years from time he was out in San Diego with the Chargers. They used to be here in San Diego, and then all the way through his, when he became MVP. A guy like a Drew, and this is based on habit, also became a trait, is when Drew was in a session training with anybody, he always elevated the thermostat in the session, meaning he brought out the best in others. So, that's a trait that, do you have the ability to raise up all of your teammates to play at a higher level? Well, okay, so what allows you to do that, right? What is that air about someone? What's that aura about someone that allows someone to really like, oh shoot, Breezy's in the session, we all better pick it up. What is that? I believe that when you develop trust in a teammate, or you do things the right way and they see you constantly working, or you come early, you stay late, you're watching film like nobody else, that's a habit. Those are habits. I remember, Conrad, when Drew was with the Saints, I took the family down there. My son Luke, my oldest, was probably 10 years old. Drew's car was still in the parking lot on a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock. They were playing the Bears that weekend. Only one car. It was Drew's. We go into the facility. He's watching film. Everyone out getting haircuts. And at 4 o'clock on a Friday, everyone out doing their thing. He's there watching film on the Bears, getting final habits. Number one, you got to out-prepare everybody. You got to do those things that you're going to make sure that you leave no stone unturned when it comes to the mental preparation, watching film on whatever sport it is. I don't care if you're in high school, do a better job in preparing. Listen, listen and watch your coaching reports of what your coaches are sharing with you. Also, guys like Darren Sproles, 5'6", 180 pounds, soaking wet. Habits, like when you talk about hard work, no one would ever outwork him. He took pride, and he'd be training with LaDainian, with Drew, with Gerald McCoy, and he's like, no one's gonna outwork me. Habit is show up even when you're tired, you don't feel like it. Nutrition's huge, and most kids, frankly, don't eat good. Right. So if you really want to be, I'll just say it, a world-class player, you want to be a all conference, all state, if you really want to maximize your potential, it's going to take time outside the weight room as well. You got to make sure you're eating good. You got to make sure you're living clean and not living like everyone else, because you want to be different. You want to be different. Tell my kids and the athletes, be different. You want to be different on that. So habits come down to everything from your early morning routine, setting some rules for your life. What are your rules for your life? I don't know. I got 13. I don't need to share them all with today, but like one of them is your phone. Set a rule around your phone. Like when you're training, don't be on your phone. In the morning, I don't go on my phone the first hour of set rules, right? Social media, set rules. If you're looking to get recruited, set rules of what you're posting on your social media, and whether that's Snap, TikTok, Instagram, whatever it is you use, set rules. And if you follow your rules and you know your rules are going to set you up, not mom or dad's job, it's not your mentor's job. It's your job to set your rules based on what you want to do. And the athletes who I've trained, part of my job is to help hold them accountable to that. But you set the rules based on the success that you want. And you tell me you want to be great. You tell me you want to be a Hall of Famer. You tell me this. Listen, it's no different than a high school kid saying, I want to go from the JV. I want to be a starter this year, or I want to be all conference this year, and I want to throw for X amount of yards or this or that, or I want to get recruited. Good. Let's set a success statement. Let's start to reverse engineer how we're going to make that happen. And if you trust the process enough, and that process is right, getting in the weight room, getting on the field, all the preparation it's going to take in the off season, then when it comes in season time, then we're going to have a little fun.
Yeah. So, Todd, I think one of the things I want to go back to that you talked about as being so important, and I'm trying to do it better myself now after my career is over, is eating well. And one of my big objections to it is that it's extremely expensive, it feels like, to eat well. Um, it just is. And like, if your parents aren't paying for that, like, what do you have resources on that available? Like, what would you be eating as a high school athlete right now that's trying to perform at their peak?
Two things, a couple things. I would say, as far as resources, go to my website, toddurkin.com, and I've got some resources there. If you log in and opt in, I got something called the Dose of Durkin. It drops every Thursday. Every Thursday, I drop. It's an email, so you'll get an email, but it's all about performance tips, mindset tips, physical tips. If you like to read, I've got a book. Right? I mean, my Impact Buy Plan, I have a whole 10-week nutritional program on there. And of course, the new QB Strong program is all the physical. But here's the thing, Comrade, I would say out of all of this, a lot of young athletes, they say it's expensive, but a lot of the basics aren't being done. Basics meaning even hydration, water, like half your body weight in fluid ounces of water. If you're not doing that and you're dehydrated, you're not going to maximize your performance. Two, um, a lot of kids eat out all the time. They're always eating sandwiches out. Eating out is expensive. So if you really want to own your success, then do more meal prepping. Like go to the store or give your parents your list about a lot of what you want to eat from a protein perspective with meat and chicken, eggs, all of the things that you would want to eat, and then meal prep on Sunday. And Conrad, I've got three kids, 20, 18, 15. My oldest is in college. I'm teaching him right now, you go on a budget, go to the store and eat, and you make food and you meal prep on Sunday and Wednesday. And otherwise, if you eat out all the time, next you're spending hundreds of dollars dang every week on food on this. And here's what I would say is when it comes to nutrition, a couple little things. When you're eating breakfast, if it has a cartoon figure on the cereal box, that ain't breakfast. That's junk. It's sugar. Sugar makes you soft. So if you're like, hey, I want to get my body right, I want to get cock diesel strong, I want to look better, then don't eat sugar. Cut down the sugar. Soda, sugar ain't going to help your performance. Is that hard? Heck yeah, it's hard. It's a habit. So, but it also makes you soft. So sugar, eliminating or reducing the amount of sugar that you have in your thing is absolutely essential. Meal prepping. And then when it comes to food, it's the acronym JERF, JERF, just eat real food. If it had a mom or a dad one time, it's probably good, right? So eat food that once had a life. That's a good thing. If it has more than 5 ingredients, it ain't good. That means it's processed. So don't eat processed foods or make it the primary part. In this country, man, nutrition is weak. And if you want to play at the next level, whatever that means to you, nutrition plays a huge part of it, especially if you're looking to gain muscle. Go to the weight room, man, you got to be eating pounding protein. You got to make sure that you're doing everything necessary to put muscle on your body. So if you're just eating carbohydrates all the time and just eating sugar, man, that's gonna be a problem.
It's also, man, I feel like a lot of kids need to hear that, and maybe definitely including me too. um, so,
Hey, Connor, it's everyone. It's everyone, right? It's everybody. It's parent. It's anyone. It's the hardest thing. We have 5 to 6 times a day we can screw up and not eat the way we want to. So it comes down to really never being hungry, because when you're hungry, you start going for junk food, for sugars and stuff like that. It's eating breakfast, good breakfast, whether that be oatmeal, eggs. Bacon's good. It's okay. You got to have some fat in there on that. And then making sure every 3-4 hours you're eating something or having a protein shake. And then lunch, you're not just eating sandwiches all the time, but maybe a salad with some protein on there is going to be good. Not that sandwiches are bad, but even peanut butter and jelly is good. Making sure you're having some PB and J like you used to eat when you were a kid, that's good. Protein shake, fruit, And then at night, mom and dad are probably making the meal, and making sure you got protein again. Protein, man, is going to help build that. 1 gram per pound of body weight is what's recommended. A gram per pound of body weight. So if you're, 150, 180, 200 pounds, 1 gram per pound of body weight through the day is what you want to build lean muscle mass, especially if you're lifting. You want to make sure you're getting your protein.
I think one of the things too, it kind of goes back to what you were saying about setting rules, is like our country is optimized for like, you know, laziness and, whatever's easy. And I mean, every product is built to remove all friction, including all these restaurants. It's so much easier to go to a restaurant than it is to go meal prep. Or to go through a fast food drive-through. And so it's just like, if you can set a rule, I'm not going to do that. Well, then you don't have a choice. You got to eat dinner. Like, and that's when I think, I don't want to go, but I got a Zaxby's by my house, and if I'm feeling lazy on the way home from work late at night, I'll get Zaxby's instead of eat. And then it's like, well, that's probably the worst thing you could eat.
Yep. It comes down to discipline, extreme discipline. And listen, I don't care how old you are listening in. As you get older, you get in the business world someday, you get into whether it be teaching, coaching. It's all about discipline. Discipline to do the things that you don't really feel like doing. So if you can learn discipline now at a young age about how you train, about what you eat, what you drink or not drink, habits of, hey, I'm going to write. For me, I have written a few books. I'm going to write 1,500 words a day on a project, or I'm going to create X amount of content pieces, or on my podcast. When you set your success statements and your rules and you abide by them, all of a sudden, if you have the discipline to do them, you're just stacking wins, man. You're stacking wins. So stack wins. From the time you wake up and you make that bed, right? You start stacking wins. You stack wins. And how am I going to win today? I'm going to freaking dominate in a weight room. I'm going to get after it in a weight room today. I'm going to stack a win. So if you want to be all conference or all state or whatever, you have to stack wins on a daily basis. And if you can get more wins than losses over time, that process allows you to ultimately tap into your full potential. Stack wins.
And so I'm going to link in this video all the material you have on a success statement, but yeah, I've called it something different. I read this book right out of college, and it was the richest man who ever lived. It's about King Solomon. It's not a religious book, but it's about kind of like setting goals and stuff. And like one of the things that it talked about was, you know, set the big vision, but then break it down into, big goals, like several big goals, and then break all those goals down into steps. And then every day those steps to the goals have tasks. And that's how you kind of break down getting there. And it really simplified it for me and made, the goal of building the global sports social media a lot more like you can compartmentalize it a lot more and just take it one day at a time.
Absolutely. It's like reverse engineering your success. Where do you want to be? And then how do I got to get there? So if you want to go to a college or a certain college, or you want to do this in your career, you reverse engineer. Who do I need to meet? What internships do I need to get? What experience do I need to get? All the way down to where you're at now. You reverse engineer your success. You set your goals. You, in the business world, we call them KPIs, key performance indicators. In our world, in the athletic world, it's called goals. What do we need to do specifically? And we just make sure that we do those things, or we have a coach hold us accountable to what is necessary, right? So you're right on, Conrad. I love it.
All right, man. Well, Todd, we're up on time here, but there's one other. If you could give us like a tagline, one-liner on what you would say to some of these young athletes that are getting ready to start their recruiting process, or are kind of in it and are disappointed by how things are going, because there's kind of two camps. It's either coaches are banging on your door as soon as they're allowed to, or they're not. And most people are in the second camp, and I think like that's a tough camp to be in, because obviously you want to be getting hard, like heavily recruited. But it's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Well, Conrad, I believe you guys recently shared or are sharing the interview I did with my son Luke. He's a college quarterback at Davidson, and which is in North Carolina. And we recently did an interview together through the QB Strong program that we talked about recruiting specifically. Why? Let me just talk to all the young men and women, boys and girls this day that are not the 4 and 5 star blue chippers that, you got colleges coming drooling over you. You're trying to get looked at. In today's day, you have to be active in recruiting yourself to the schools that you want to go to. You've got to develop a relationship with these recruiters. And depending on your sport, depends on what platform, right? If you're in football, a lot of that's going to happen on Twitter. If you're in lacrosse or soccer, basketball or baseball, you find the platform where you can share what you have done on the field. But a couple rules. Remember this. I know you hear it all the time, but it's the truth. Man, your grades matter. So you got to make sure your grades, you're doing a good job in the classroom. I literally just earlier this morning talked to a coach from Northwestern who was asking about an athlete who I've worked with and wants to know off the field, what is he like off the field? Character, what's he like? Been around the gym. As far as grades, how is his family? How does he give back in the community? All the things that are non-sport related, right? So yeah, you got to be good in your sport. You got to keep working. But when it comes to recruiting, I also would say this. Have your dream list of schools, but also don't ever discount if you want to go play big time, Division I college athletics, great. But also look at some of the schools like in Division III and Division II that, man, let me tell you what, there's some great schools at all levels. And sometimes we got ballyhoo like, I got to be a D1 athlete. No, you don't. Depending on your goals and the academics and the education you want, have schools of varying ranges. Yeah, if you want to play D1, great. Put down those top dream schools of where you may want to play. But maybe you should look at also some D3 schools because there's some great Division III and Division II schools out there with great academics and great athletics as well. Don't discount that because a lot of young athletes don't ever think, I'm either going D1 or bust. Well, that's not smart if you really want to continue your athletic career because there's a lot of really good schools nationwide that are looking for good student athletes as well. So listen, when it comes to recruiting, you got to make sure you're great in the classroom. You got to make sure that you do what you need to do on the field, or on the court. But here's the thing: if you want to play at the next level, college, there's a school that could probably use you. But it's going to take you being active in the recruiting process to really go look for that school and develop a relationship with the coaching staff because they're going to ask about your character. And they're going to want to know what you're doing when you're not on the field, and how does she or he show up? Is he or she a leader in the weight room? What is she like when things go wrong on the field? All the things that is he or she going to represent my university or my college in a way that's going to reflect the reputation of the school that we're at. So do things the right way. That's all what integrity is about, right? Do things the right way and put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to do that. Show up at the camps, show up at the combines, in the clinics that you want to get recognized at. And it takes some effort on your end. You can't sit back and hope like, in my era when people are just going to come to you. Nope, not today. Too many young student athletes want to go play. You have to be active in recruiting yourself to the school to get eyeballs, develop the relationship, and then if it's a fit, then it's going to work out.
100%. That's such good advice. I think, I look back at kind of what happened with me. I was Hail Mary situation, D1 or bust mentality, and got really lucky, got a scholarship at the last minute to play at Mercer a month before school started. But I had friends that went and played at Middlebury College, D3 school up in Northeast, and Washington and Lee. And they were starters their first year, and they had great teammates, and they had a really, full picture college experience. And I was the 10th man for 4 years. I loved my teammates. I wouldn't have changed anything about it, but it sucks to not be a starter.
Yep,
It does.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great wisdom right there, Conrad, because we all know or think, hey, if I go here, I'm going to start. Well, you may, and that's great. You got to work to be the starter, but don't ever discount just, that's Division III or that's Division II. Let me tell you what, many times there's not a lot separated D2 or D3 athlete unless you're like some five-star superstar All-American athlete that you're going to go dominate at big schools. You find a place that's the right fit for you, and you have the opportunity to be a real good part of a program or build a program or be part of a winning program and tradition. So much of it's about relationships that you develop in college or at your university so that You go and you got a 40-year degree based on the relationships and the network that you built in college versus, well, you went because you thought you're going to be some superstar athlete and it didn't pan out. Make some decisions, not just on the athletics, but what is the reputation of that school? What's the network like? Because, it's said in the business world is, your network is your net worth. Your network is your net worth. So find schools, and you mentioned a couple of those great D3 NESCACs and, some of these other schools around the country. There are some top flight schools, even outside of D1, that one could consider. And let me tell you what, whether you play or you don't, there's some schools that can really help you with that 40-year trajectory of going and make some serious impact in your own life and in the country. So, man, this is an exciting time. If you're a young man, woman, like, man, I want to go to school. I want to use sports as that. And whether you get a scholarship or you don't, all of these different traits and habits are going to lead you to success. Are you going to have setbacks? 100%, like all of us have had. But it's that mindset. It's that work ethic. It's the network of people you're going to develop. If you just keep doing that and you're stacking wins, let me tell you what, the sky's the limit.
There's no doubt. And if you don't know what your options are to division, even D2 through JUCO, like, we built a tool for this because that's exactly what happened to me. I had no idea what was happening. And so you can go into Press Sports, filter Division 1 through JUCO, any region or state in the country. We support 26 different sports. It'll pull the list of every school. You can click in, see all the coaches. Use that tool. Add your target list on your profile. Anyway, Todd, dude, This was an awesome time, man. Thanks so much for joining the podcast. I mean, I can't wait to push this out to our community and get you involved in it too.
Yeah. Conrad, any way I can help, man, let me know. If I can be a resource, if you're listening in, if I can be a resource, reach out. I know we recently just came out with our program, the QB Strong program. If you're a pitcher, you're a quarterback, it's an 8-week program and you want that. It's all weight room and mindset type stuff. But in any way I can help you, let me know. And Conrad, congrats what you're doing. I love the messaging you're putting out for all the boys and girls. I'm going to really challenge you all is to get into what Conrad was just sharing. You have resources at your fingertips right here. Most kids won't do it. Most won't. So if you want to be different and you want to take action, just spend a little time on the weekend or, go peruse around, a little less time maybe on social media this week. Go learn about some options, because when you do that and you reach out, let me tell you what, you reach out to folks like Conrad, myself, other coaches who can help you. Next thing you know, you got an in at some of these schools that you just didn't have before. So do your due diligence, go in there and get your resources. Conrad, man, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome.
No doubt. All right, guys, it's been awesome. We'll see you on the next one. Thank you so much, Todd.